the core to kind of explode. I just like to use a knife so everything stays intact. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the bottom of this cabbage, just barely, to get off the outer layers of this outer layers. Like, it's not the prettiest part. It's helping like keep the inside nice and crisp and awesome. So we set these aside. We're going to use them later, so don't throw them away. And then I'm going to take a serrated knife or a paring knife and carefully, when I say carefully, I mean carefully, you're going to, it's kind of like carving a pumpkin, right? You're going to go in at an angle, cut around the core's diameter, radius, whatever it's called. I came here to cook, I didn't come here for scientific mathematical jargon. And then when I get around the other side, I'll just like pop it out, and then I'll just kind of keep carving out with the tip of my knife, making sure your hand is firmly on top, right? Because we don't want our knife to slip and go through our hand, so be very careful when you're doing this. Right around here, you can tell that all of the core is out. And now we're going to take the outer layers off, just like this. We're going to peel them off with our hands, nice and carefully. The biggest part of this is the cabbage, right? We want to make sure the cabbage is intact and not broken in pieces. If you run into these situations like this where it's not coming off, you can just trim off the bottom a little bit. As you get closer to the middle, it's going to get smaller, and it's going to be harder to grab them unless you do that. But you can see they're coming off very easily. This is a really good dish to utilize the entire vegetable. So right around here, I'm just going to set it aside. So now we have our water, bringing it to a boil, and we're going to grab our spider. This is called a spider. I forgot why, but it kind of looks like a web. And this is what we're going to use to grab the cabbage out of our boiling water. Add a little bit of salt always to make sure that what we're seasoning is going to be seasoned and not watery. So let's grab our small ones first, put them in our water. We're going to boil them for about 2 to 3 minutes. You just want the cabbage to be nice and flexible. The reason why you can't stuff cabbage when it's like this is it's going to rip and tear, and it's not going to wrap around anything. So while these are boiling, we're going to make the filling. The filling is going to be a mixture of beef, ground beef, some lentils, which we have right here, some spices. So we have some garlic, some turmeric, cinnamon, cumin, marjoram. If you don't have marjoram, you can use oregano and salt. So you can see that this is nice and flexy right now. That's looking good. So we're going to put this into our ice bath, which I have over here. Try to get it in shot too. Oh, we got everything in the shot. Perfect. So we have our beef. We're going to put it in a bowl. Grab some gloves. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in. Please, please, please. So we're going to add our lentils to our beef, and we're going to add our spices in right now. So we have our salt, and if you need the recipe to this, it's going to be in the description, and in the description, in the chat, easy to find. This is our garlic. So we just added our cinnamon, garlic powder, and we're going to be in our turmeric. This is cumin. This is marjoram. So now that our spices are inside, we're just going to give everything a nice mix, so everything's nice and together, right? So you want to make sure it's mixed up really nice and well. There's no way to test this. Just trust that this recipe is good, because you don't want to be eating raw lentils. So let's set that aside. Camera got a steam bath. I want to hold this up. I'm afraid it's going to fall apart. This is what I'm working with right now, right here. It won't break apart yet. There it goes. There it goes. Just a little strength from the fingers. I like to say, maybe we say like a medium to small meatball is what we're looking for. Something like that, right? And this should make, I don't know how many we fill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, about 17 stuffed cabbages. This is something you can do with your friends, family, your loved ones, whoever you got around, your community. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 balls. Maybe I went a little bit bigger. So I like to use this kind of pot. Let's start off with this. This pot has a colander on the inside for like pasta, but I like this for this recipe specifically because once we put this in here, that top portion is going to help push down on all of these stuffed cabbages so they don't move around. And if you don't have that, the next best thing is to take toothpicks and put them in to prevent the meat from expanding outside of the cabbage leaf. So I'm going to cut off the bottom a little bit just because it's sticking out further than I'd like, right? And we are going to move this here. We're going to take a ball that we rolled up and just kind of move it around in a circular motion to make like a cylinder shape. So then we're going to put our cylinder right in the middle, right? You're going to roll over the base end of the cabbage, the part of the cabbage that's connected to the ground, and roll it towards the top. You're going to do once over, kind of like sushi, and once you get it to here, you're going to roll in the sides, right? And then you're going to keep it nice and taut and roll it up towards the top of the cabbage leaf. And that is it. If you don't have this colander system, now is the time that you're going to toothpick the outside to the inside. You can just do it right through. You can basically skewer it right through. Kind of like this. Sound good? So then you would, if you don't have that and you want to make it simple like I'm trying to right now, you're going to place these down on the seam side. So like this flap piece, just place it down to where it doesn't go anywhere and it stays nice and taut. As we continue making these, we're going to put them next to each other, and that pressure and that like friction is going to keep pushing in and keeping all of them taut together. I'll try my best to kind of keep that in a spot so you can see it. How about we do this? That looks good. Like I said, we're going to put it right here, you see? So the friction of it trying to unwind is going to keep it pinned down. For those of you watching this later, please make sure that when you do make this, to tag us, tag me, tag Jen, tag EatCCC in your recipe. Like, post it on Instagram, hit us up on YouTube, ask us questions. That's what we're here for. The one thing that I really want people to do more at home is cook. I feel like it's becoming like a lost craft. We expect people to cook for us all the time now, and there's so much you can gain for yourself by feeding yourself. It's not stupid or silly, it's fun. When you learn how to do this recipe, you can find that you might enjoy it with different fillings or different types of cabbages. This cabbage we're using right now is Savoy cabbage. So it's a little lighter than your typical green cabbage, which is very firm. And I like the texture of it. It's got like that, it looks like a dinosaur kind of skin. You can see it's very embossed. And if you run out of cabbage, do not worry. If you're like, I don't have more cabbage. I'm not buying another cabbage. I don't want to do any more of this. Just take these balls and throw them right in your sauce. Like, that's basically a meatball with some extra protein. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Now, here comes the fun part. We're going to take this pot that we have, and we are going to try out the bottom, even though that really doesn't matter. And we're going to start putting our cabbages inside. Let me change this angle up for you. All right, so when we're putting them in, you want to make sure that you're, like I said, they're going to flap around like this. Put them down first so it's curled, and you can push towards the edge of the pot like that. So it stays taut. Now just do the same thing you did before, but move them around the sides of the pan. Right? Try to get the ones that are the same in size first. So as you work towards the middle, they become smaller and easier to fit into these tight spaces. I'm just going to go all around the pot. Just keep pushing them in. The closer they are together, the easier they'll keep together. And this like last section here, it looks like a triangle. Just kind of push it towards the outside and you'll find a spot eventually. So for the stock, we have these tomatoes here. This is 1 can of San Marzano tomatoes. These are organic, which I did not know until now. They are peeled. They do have the seeds, so if you're not really into seeds with tomatoes, you can just throw this right into the blender and we'll add everything in there and mix it up. For me, for right now, in this space, we're just going to crush them with our hands. So let's add our tomatoes to a bowl that's going to allow everything to fit inside. And what we're going to do is take one hand, keep this hand dry. Take your dominant hand and squish your tomatoes, like so. Like that. Now we're going to add about, this is 28 ounces of tomato everything. Liquid, actual tomato. We're going to add 1.5 cans of water for this pot. So I like to use water right into the can so we can grab all the remaining juices that are inside. You can kind of like mix it around. Dump it out. And just depending on what you got, like as far as the pot you're cooking in, you may need more or less. But this seems to work out pretty well. We're going to give it a nice little mix. We're going to add a little salt, about a tablespoon. Yeah, a tablespoon. So mix it up well, and we're going to pour this on top of the stuffed cabbages. So you just want to start to cover them, right? You're going to have all this extra liquid. The reason why we're stopping right here is so we can press it down. We just want to get it nice. We don't want to press it too hard. We can keep it like nice and taut to the pot. But you can take all these cabbage leaves, put them on top of your stuffed cabbage. It can be even little tiny pieces, but you're going to put the small pieces down first. All of this is going to get braised. And as I was saying earlier, it's all usable. Like you're going to make use out of everything. So you're going to keep it down with the small pieces, and then we're going to add the big pieces on top. Right? So as we add our small pieces on, we're going to add our big pieces. So now we have a lot of vegetables to help push it down. Now the colander portion of this pot, this is where it's going to come into play. The weight of this colander is fairly light, but once you add this on top, the glass lid helps keep it down. If your colander or your whatever you have in your pot isn't very heavy, you can add some plates to here. Just make sure that they're not like fine china. that they're not going to break and go into millions of pieces. Something you know is very durable. And don't use aluminum. You can use stainless steel pans. Don't use aluminum pans because that will leach into the liquid from all the acid. All right, so we have the rest of our broth. We're going to add it to the colander. You're going to see it start filling up. And this is going to allow us to see through the cooking process how much liquid we have throughout that cooking time. So it's there, it's good. Now we're going to bring it to a boil. So it's going to bring it to a boil. This is going to take a long time to do just because it's like this. If we had the magic of television, I'd pull one out, but we don't have those resources at the moment. What we're going to do is talk about what the cabbage will look like once it's cooked. So right here, I did save the top layer. This is the cabbage from the top that we did from last night. So you can see the outer leaves are nice and intact. These are the smaller portions here. The smaller pieces are falling apart, but they're still delicious. You can eat them as is. You can toss them in with like some couscous. The smaller pieces will be much more mushier and tender. And then we have this tomato liquid, right? So this liquid is liquid gold. It's going to taste just like everything you cooked. You can cook pasta in it. You can use it to braise something else like immediately. You can just use it for cooking. So I would say don't throw it away and keep it aside. But when it's all done, when everything's done, the cabbage will be in the liquid. It is very important to cool it down in the liquid so it stays nice and moist as possible. And you'll get these beautiful, amazing stuffed cabbages, right? One thing I want to mention is that you can grill these. So my favorite way to eat them right now during the summertime is to roast them. Toss them with a little bit of oil, salt, and roast them in the oven. I'm afraid that if I turn this oven on, the breaker's gonna blow like it has been, but just trust me. You can skewer them whole, but I find that if you cut them in half, they heat up more evenly. So if you do like this, and just take a skewer, this is a metal one, go through the piece that's hanging off first, very important. Skewer through. Do another one. You have another one. I feel like 2 cabbages are very efficient for a nice entree. We had this 2 days ago. Served it with some hummus, some cilantro, a little bit of sumac, olive oil, and did I say hummus? Yeah, hummus. It's like a yellow lentil hummus. It was amazing. But you literally can just put this on the grill. It won't fall apart because the cabbage is keeping it together. So keep that in mind. So that's that. Maybe we can do a class about that too. But once they're done cooking, you're good to go. Eat it, enjoy. For anyone who's tuned in today, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, drop them in through the chat, the comment section, and if you want to see more recipes, please let me know. Let us know what you want us to start making together. And what else do I want to say? It's just a busy day. This is a pretty busy recipe. So if you've gotten this far, if you've taken notes for this process, thank you. We're going to be putting this recipe up once it gets done loading to YouTube. And hopefully I'll see you next time. So next Thursday we'll be making something. Tomorrow I'm going to be spinning this wheel of food. And that's going to dictate what we make every single Thursday so that you can be surprised and you can be a part of that process. You get to choose what food we're going to make, and I am going to make it more IBD friendly. So I can have it and you can have it and everyone can have it. That is the goal. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sorry that these aren't finished, but All questions, throw them my way. And have an amazing, amazing day.